China will win this race. Yeah, it's looking a lot like it. I was in China in April in Beijing, and I've told the story a few times, but on that trip, I used to live in Beijing, but I hadn't been back for a number of years. But while flying over, I was chatting to somebody on the plane, which was good to help me practice my Chinese before I landed. And she was from Hangzhou, which is where DeepSeek is made. And she introduced this. She said, "Oh, I'm from this city. It's the birthplace of DeepSeek." So there was a pride there. Whereas in the West, we don't have that pride. There's a lot more, I guess, more complicated feelings about artificial intelligence. Whereas in China, I felt the people I talked to, and this is purely anecdotal, they were a lot more excited about the implications of it and what could be done with AI, which, I mean, as somebody who shares that excitement, I really liked. And then I kept bumping into AI just in daily life. Like once I was in some alleyways, a hutong, looking for a noodle bar, couldn't find it. I talked to a grandma, and that's like, can you help me find this noodle bar? She had this really thick Beijing accent. If you don't know it, it's very like, "Arr, arr." It's very R. It sounds a bit piratical. It's an awesome accent. I love it. But her accent was so thick that I was really struggling to communicate with her. And at one point, she just pulled out her phone, and she didn't bring up a map or anything. She went DeepSeek, and she wrote into it. I read her Chinese afterwards. It said, "Please help this young man find this noodle bar," basically, and give it to him tell him in English, or what was it? Yeah, in his language. She put in, and it gave me directions to the noodle bar in English, and she gave it to me. And she must have been in her 70s or so. It's a technology that is being taken a lot more seriously in China, whereas in the West we are still flirting with it. It is very much embedded there. Things like really basic things, like in the big bookshops, when you go in and you see the bestsellers, you see the books that are being promoted, they were all about how to use DeepSeek and how to use artificial intelligence. And I have a few of them. I purchased a few over there. So it is very much a more popular approach. Like everybody is starting to use it, whereas we're lagging a bit in the West, let's put it that way. So yeah, they're doing very well, extremely well. I think when we get to robotics as well, that's going to be the ball game, because China has the manufacturing capability to produce robotics at a cost which allows them to become widely adopted. That's the main problem. One of the main problems in robotics is we can build really impressive things, but if it costs the same as a family car, that doesn't make it practical to use on a day-to-day basis. If you can get that down to a couple of $1,000, $500, $100, then suddenly it's, oh, okay, everyone is going to have one of these in their houses. And that is not going to happen in America. That's not going to happen in Europe. We don't have the manufacturing capability. It's going to happen in China, because for the last few decades, the West has sent all of its manufacturing over to China, which is incidentally what Trump is finding out with the tariffs. Oh, whoops. China makes quite a lot of stuff, huh? Interesting. The problem with all of this Chinese content, though, is the stuff we get about it in the West is not very detailed. So I speak Mandarin, but not to the level where I can read newspapers easily, especially about educational policy and artificial intelligence. So I feel that I need to get my AI up. Sorry, not my AI. I need to get my Mandarin up to a higher level so that I can read the primary sources for this, because we get it filtered through various different Western focused news sources, so we don't necessarily get the full picture. So that is another thing I need to add to my list. So we have two things happening in China right now. Both came into force yesterday, I believe. Let me just check. I think it was yesterday. Yes. Yeah, both on September the 1st. So the first is AI is becoming a mandatory part of curriculums in schools for anyone above the age of 6. So the Chinese Education Authority has issued a 3-year action plan to adjust the curriculum in line with major strategic needs. Interesting. Focusing on urgently needed disciplines and majors targeting the nation's strategic emerging and future industries. Okay, so AI. And strengthening the role of artificial intelligence in AI. So the Ministry of Education has announced on Thursday, this was a couple of weeks ago. So there's a 3-year plan, and they're pushing for more engineers, more mathematicians, more computer scientists, etc., in line with the strategic needs of China. So the West does this as well. We just tend not to use this kind of language. So when we read this kind of thing, we're like, oh, wow, that's serious sounding, but we do exactly the same thing. We just don't couch it in the terms of strategic interest, because that sounds very warmongering. So this was announced. We've had rumors of this, talking about this for the last few months, but it kicked in today because the kids have gone back to school. They went back yesterday, the 1st of September, after their summer holidays. And it means they now have compulsory AI classes. So local governments are beginning to take action after Beijing said it wants all primary and secondary schools to study the advanced tech. So this is a specific school in Hangzhou in the south will introduce mandatory artificial intelligence courses for primary and secondary schools as part of a nationwide strategy to nurture talent in the rapidly growing sector. Schools will have flexibility in how they deliver the lessons. Interesting. Either by concentrating them within a single week, so you have an AI week, or integrating AI content into subjects like IT and science. So that's interesting. You have to have 10 class hours of instruction per year for all kids in China now. But it's up to the local school boards, it's up to the local schools, it's up to the teachers to work out how exactly to do that. Okay, that is very interesting. Because China is a big country. So this makes sense from the point of view of allowing the schools to tailor it to what's going to work for their setup, for their teachers, for their students. It also puts the impetus and the onus on their teachers learning how to use it, the school knowing how to use artificial intelligence and therefore how to teach it. I'm sure some people are doing very well right now going around and selling that educational content to these schools. There's hundreds of millions of school-aged children, so this is a big market for whoever is out there doing that right now. The guidelines detail content requirements and teaching methods across grade levels. In the first 2 years of primary school, students will be introduced to everyday AI applications, probably DeepSeek, it's not going to be ChatGPT, interact with basic devices and learn about the role of technology in daily life. Classes will stress the importance of responsible use with a focus on privacy. Fascinating. In the 3rd and 4th grade, students will create simple projects by using AI tools to gather text, images, and audio for schoolwork and everyday tasks. Now, how old is that? 3rd grade in America is how old? In America, it's 8 to 9. So they're using the same terminology in this article. So this means 8-year-olds will be building basic AI applications. Cool. Very cool. In the 5th and 6th grades, so that's going to be 8, 9, 10 and 11 years old, they will study AI scenarios and basic models, including decision trees and neural networks, alongside algorithms like reasoning and brute force search. Woo! Okay. So that will be layered into mathematics, I imagine. I'm starting to teach them about machine learning. And so this is in primary school. This is 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds before they go up to secondary or high school, or middle school if you're in America. At the middle school level, students will cover the entire AI workflow from data preparation to model training to inference, while addressing real-world challenges and evaluating generative AI. In high school, the focus will shift to project-based work, where students design AI systems to develop intelligent agents, honing their ability to apply technology in daily life. Okay, cool. Extremely cool. So it sounds like they need 10 hours per student per year, which is not a huge amount, but obviously a lot more than in the West. But there is a guideline over, so starting at age, what's 3rd grade? You can tell I don't have kids. So 3rd grade is 8 and 9. So it starts in primary school. So it's going to start at age 6. So 6 and 7, that's when you introduce the AI application. You can tell I don't have children because I'm trying to work this out in my head. Excuse me, must have been very annoying if you have school-age children. Okay, very cool. Obviously, it only launched yesterday and rollout will be spotty. Some, I imagine, in Beijing and in Shanghai and the big cities, the level of instruction is going to be extremely high. The more wealthy schools will be able to bring in experts, etc., whereas this is nationwide. So there are going to be more rural schools, which won't necessarily have the same level of instruction straight away. But Beijing, so the government will be helping those schools to keep up so that they can make sure all of the kids get the same education as well. Very cool, especially the importance of responsible use with the focus on privacy. I'd love to get my hands on like an actual curriculum from the school. If anyone knows anyone who works in this space, just trying to think if I know any teachers. I'd love to get a hold of that and see what it looks like and see what these kids are learning, because I think this is fascinating. I think we need to be doing something like this in the UK, in America, in Europe as well. Globally, kids need to be getting a hold of this in the same way that kids had to be taught about the internet initially when it was a new technology. Very cool. So China's social media platforms rush to abide by AI-generated content labeling laws. So there's a law. This isn't just a recommendation. This is a law requiring explicit and implicit labels for AI-generated text, images, audio, video, and other virtual content. Major Chinese social media platforms, including Weixin, WeChat, and Douyin, have launched new features to abide by Monday's rollout. So yesterday this came into place. I'm sure they've been working on it since before yesterday, I would hope, of a new law that mandates the labeling of all artificial intelligence generated content online. The law, which was issued back in March, so they've had 9 months to get ready, requires explicit and implicit labels for AI-generated text, image, audio, videos, and other virtual content. Explicit markings must be clearly visible to users. So if you have an image, it will have AI, it will say in the corner, while implicit identifiers, such as digital watermarkers, are embedded in the metadata. So we have in the West, so I'm using that very generally, but in our Western models, we do have implicit metadata. So for example, if you generate an image on ChatGPT, it will have in its data that it's been generated by ChatGPT, which is now when you upload to an image to LinkedIn, in LinkedIn in particular, it will say in the corner AI, because that has been pulled from the metadata inside of the image that's been generated by ChatGPT. And then when you upload it to LinkedIn, it adds a little stamp saying this has been AI generated. You can immediately remove that you could just wipe the metadata and that is suddenly gone. China's going a bit further by having explicit and implicit demarcations. So the country's top internet watchdog, the Cyberspace Administration of China, along with the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology and Ministry of Public Security and National Radio and Television Administration, say that 5 times backwards, drafted the law. The new regulation reflects Beijing's increased scrutiny of AI as concern grows over misinformation, fair, copyright infringement, fair, and online fraud, fair, all of it. And it also aligns with a broader push to tighten AI oversight, which was made a key focus of the Cyberspace Administration of China's 2025 Qinglang, or Bright on Clear campaign, an annual initiative aimed at cleaning up China's cyberspace. Okay, so this is huge. The Chinese internet, we don't tend to think about that much in the West because it's in Chinese characters, so it's not really accessible. But it is the second largest separate internet after English. The majority of the internet is in English language globally, but the Chinese internet is extremely large. Obviously, there's over 1 billion people there, but it's its own ecosystem with its own software, with its own protocols, basically, and now with its own regulation of AI as well. So it'd be interesting to see if lawmakers and regulators in the West are looking at this to see how it goes and to see if there's anything that they want to borrow. I understand why it's being done. I do wonder how easy this stuff's going to be to remove, because this is always the problem with digital watermarking, with these kind of regulations, is that the people who actually want to defraud, the people who actually want to spread misinformation and cause trouble, they are the ones who are going to spend the time going around these kind of measures. And the risk there is that because the normal people are unable to remove metadata, they're unable to remove the explicit and the implicit markers, normal people will become very used to AI content being flagged. So that means that when the nefarious actors, the people who actually want to defraud you or spread misinformation, when they want to do, it's going to be a lot easier for them to do, because the public have started to trust in AI being publicly identified. So they're going to start seeing photos that don't have that AI identification and think, oh, it must be real. So these kind of projects always collapse on this hurdle, in that the people who actually want to cause trouble are going to be, again, the ones who spend the time going around it and making sure that this doesn't affect them, which actually gives them a more free rein, ironically, to spread misinformation and to commit fraud. So we will see how it goes. What I would say with both this and the initiatives in Chinese schools teaching AI to kids is that what we're seeing whether you agree with what they're doing or not, whether you agree with watermarking and whether you agree with explicitly teaching kids how to use AI, they're very proactive in China. Whereas in the West, especially in the UK, we are floundering around. We know we need to do something about AI and our government makes big noises about it. So Keir Starmer made lots of racket about, oh, we're going to be an AI first nation. We're going to spearhead AI, but nothing actually comes from it. Whereas in China, these laws were made a few months ago and then boom, September the 1st, it's in play and stuff actually happens. So regardless of what you think of China, regardless of what you think of the laws, are these draconian? Are these problematic? They do actually get stuff done, at least, and there is some proactivity, whereas we tend to be a lot more reactive, especially in the UK. Yeah, which I don't think is the right way to treat artificial intelligence. It is too important to be purely reactive to.